Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm doing another video. Now today I'm interviewing another candidate from The Apprentice, and we're going to be chatting about their time on the show, what it was like meeting Lord Sugar, what it was like in the boardroom, and many more things. So today Gregory will be joining me.
Well, hello. I'm Gregory from. I've recently gone on season 17 of The Apprentice, and I didn't last very long. But I've just started my own business, which is sort of in antiques. My background's history.
Thank you so much for joining me, Gregory. So today we're going to be chatting about your time on The Apprentice, your favourite moments, what it was like in the boardroom, and many exciting things like that. So to kick off the interview, I wanted to know, what was the application process like for The Apprentice?
Well, I can't really go into too much detail about it, just because, it's just all a bit secretive. We filled in lots of forms, but what I would say is it's tough. It's quite rough. It's very difficult to sort of plan ahead. The interview process will take place over the duration of a month, rather than it just being, let's say, you go in for one day and then they choose you. That's not how it really works. They assess you at lots of different stages throughout, with lots of different tests. So, for example, interviews and practical challenges, some based on teamwork, some which you would do sort of independently. But nevertheless, it's sort of it's an interesting one. You don't quite know what to expect. I think the real problem, or the real excitement regarding the interview process, is that not many people get selected, so that's a really sort of big that's a big wow factor to be given the sort of opportunity, and B, how quick it is. It may last over the course of a day for your first application, but on the other hand, it's gone like a flash, simply because it's quite intense, but also I don't know, it's kind of fun actually. It's quite exciting. So yeah, I mean, I can't go into too much detail, but I would say it's a adventurous and interesting experience which you can't predict, and it's quite surprising.
Yeah, so it's like an interesting process that obviously not many people get to do. So it's great that you got to experience that and that you ended up on the show. So talking of getting on the show, I wanted to fast forward a few months, and I wanted to know, how did you feel when you first found out that you were going to actually be appearing on the show?
It was, I mean, it's a bit of a wow, isn't it? You have no idea quite what to expect, just to sort of get on this process. I mean, I didn't think I'd get on the show. So, I mean, I honestly didn't think I had much of a chance. Perhaps that's just because of pure number of people who will apply, or because when you watch the actual show, your expectations are very different when you actually watch it, as opposed to what actually happens behind the scenes. So it's quite a surprise when they sort of call you up and say, "Hey, congratulations, you're now through." I mean, you're a bit lost for words. It's a bit surreal, I think, is the best way of sort of putting it. Because when I got on the show, lockdown was coming to an end, and therefore the actual TV industry was still under the full masks, several meter rule, distancing policy. So as a consequence, you couldn't get close to people. You still had to wear masks. So you're kind of expecting to catch COVID just before production starts and not actually get on the show. So honestly, I think I was playing my cards quite close to my chest, in the sense that I wasn't trying to get too excited about the whole process until it actually happens, because so many things could have gone. You could have failed a medical checkup. You could have caught COVID. Perhaps the production might have been cancelled because COVID came back. I don't know. It was quite a turbulent period, and I'm pretty sure, like a bunch of last year's candidates from season 16 felt exactly the same whilst COVID was taking place. So yeah, I mean, it was wow, but disbelief as well.
Yeah, it sounds like a roller coaster of emotions. Like you said, it was exciting, but also there are all of those factors to worry about as well. So you got onto the show, you made it through all of the worry, which is good. And part of being on the show means you get to stay in the Apprentice house. So what is it really like in there? Is it as grand as it looks on TV? And what was it like sharing the house with so many of your fellow candidates?
I mean, the candidates are just normal people. So if you sort of lived at university accommodation, it's not too dissimilar in that particular sense. These are people of the same boat as you. No one knows each other. We've not spoken to anybody outside of the actual production, and all of a sudden we're sort of thrust to it. So it's like when you start university. At least that's how I felt. Sort of starting my bachelor's, having roommates and flatmates for the first time in your life. But on the other hand, I think the real sort of distinction is you're in quite a big house. It looks more luxurious than it is in person. I can assure you that. We didn't really get to, I for the duration I was there, I never actually got to use the pool, so which is a bit of a shame. And we don't have TVs or anything like that. So obviously I'd actually much prefer being at home. But on the other hand, it's interesting. There's a bit of camaraderie there, but not just with the other candidates, from the production crew who will look after you and make sure that you're happy. There's quite a close-knit camaraderie because you're living with these people. You're not just sort of staying a couple of nights. You're staying for several weeks, sometimes a few months at a time, and you really get to know these people so close. It's quite surreal. Really, it's a really cool experience. And at the same time, the actual process, so living together, having people follow you to the toilet, it's not so exciting. So it's pretty miserable. So we all got to moan and sort of dwell on our collective misery and not being able to go to the bathroom and supervise.
Yeah, it sounds like it was an interesting one. Like you said, it's always good to, to get to know people and make new friends and things like that. So it sounds like it was definitely a good learning opportunity. So the show obviously revolves around Lord Sugar. He's been there throughout all of the seasons. So what was it like meeting Lord Sugar? Because, he is such an amazing person in the business world. So how did it feel meeting him for the first time?
I mean, the same as the audience. Honestly, it's if you've never seen The Apprentice before, then our experience is the same as that. Obviously, if you've seen the several seasons, then the experience of seeing Lord Sugar the first time sort of it's not as much. But in the sense that you go into the room, it's all quite surreal. None of us have spoken to each other before. None of us have spoken off camera. Literally, we get sat in a room, and then we go into the boardroom. And then you've got Karen, Claude, or Tim, and then Lord Sugar comes. And you don't know what to expect. I mean, the one thing is, everybody asks me, you're meeting Lord Sugar. What is he like in person? Is he the same sort of person which you see on TV to what you actually get in person? Now, I'd actually say yes. My experience was not at all. He was the same. He was the same in reality as he was on TV, which was tough, to the point, direct, can be a bit comedic, especially with his jokes. But on the other hand, quite intimidating, and probably not the sort of character you'd be on the wrong side. You want to be on the wrong side of. I mean, he's a multi-billionaire for a reason, and honestly, that's because he's very focused. Every question which he has is to the point. Sometimes it could be a bit blunt, but on the other hand, he's looking for a business partner, so he's not there to waste time, and he's got other things to do outside of filming.
Yeah, he sounds like quite an inspirational person to get to meet. And I love how you said that he is kind of the same person we see on TV, because as a viewer, when you watch him, he has a good personality. He seems like a really cool guy, but like you said, he's also down to business. He has his aims and he makes sure that he meets them. So he seems like a really cool guy to meet. So I want to ask you a difficult one now. If you could pick one task to be your favourite, why would you pick it?
I mean, I didn't exactly have many tasks to choose from. I would just pick the first one. I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. That's my background. It's history. It's antiques. It's my passion in life. How could I not pick something where that's my background? It certainly wouldn't be the third task. If you haven't seen the episode, then everybody's got to see why I say that. And it probably wouldn't be the second one because it wasn't quite the resounding victory of the first task. But yeah, that's my answer. It's the first one. It was fun. It was cool. And it was, Antigua, I've never been before. There's another country I've never visited, which is now off my checklist.
Yeah, getting to go abroad for starters to Antigua just was amazing in itself. And I can remember, I think in the first boardroom when you got back from that task, I think Karen said like how much you shone in that task because you were like helping with the tour and you really stood out in that. So I can see why it was your favourite. It was really, really good. So talking of the boardroom, what is it like in there? Because on TV, it looks very stressful. It looks as if anybody could just start crying at any point. So is it as scary as it seems on TV?
Yeah. Pretty much. I suppose it is. It's just as scary watching it on TV as it is in person, that boardroom. It's difficult to explain. And the reason it's really difficult to explain is because I think the longer you stay in, the less emotionally invested you're in the process. Whereas the less you're in, the more emotionally invested. And the reason I say that is simply because there comes a point where the process is so exhausting and so knackering. I can't say from personal experience, but it didn't last long enough. But a lot of my colleagues say that the process is so demanding, but by the end of it, they're a bit relieved that at least they didn't have to wake up at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, fight it out, and then end up in a boardroom the day after, battling for the lives with the risk of being fired. And then they could just get back to normal life. So in that sense, it gets a little bit better the longer you stay in the process. But on the other hand, it's brutal. I mean, for those who haven't seen my sort of firing episode, was quite direct. It was a tough fight between Shannon, Reese, and myself. Sorry, not Shannon, Denisha, Reese, and myself. And it's so difficult to explain. But yeah, it's challenging. It's horrible. It's miserable. And these are your friends. You don't want to criticize your friends either, do you? So it doesn't exactly play to your advantage in that respect. And then you've got to remember that this particular episode gets aired in front of 10 million, 20 million people for the first time in your life. So if you say anything like really bad, you're going to get so many haters on social media. It's untrue. So you've got to be a bit careful.
Yeah, it sounds like quite a bad kind of scary situation to be in, and it's a position I don't think a lot of people would want to be in. The boardroom seems like a scary place, and I'll leave you to handle that. Not my thing. So how has your business been since leaving The Apprentice? Because has it taken off? Has it seen a lot more customers? How has it been since leaving the show?
Well, I think for the first month, so after leaving the show, we had 15,000 clicks on the website in the first 48 hours. So that was quite a lot of people visiting the website. In fact, there's so many, it crashed. But I think that experience is not unique to myself. I know Joey's website crashed. He sold out of lip balm in the first month. So he actually had to stop everything he was doing and just make more lip balm. From my particular perspective, my business has been good. It's not super fast. It's not grown at an unmanageable rate. It's slow, but it's gradual. And to be honest, I kind of like that for my business, because I build websites for people and I do lots of other services. So with the gradual growth of my business, it allows me to sort of clean out the bugs in my software, whilst at the same time gives me the time to build websites for people, but not get overburdened with multiple jobs at the same time, which I work sort of independently with no other staff. So it just helps me manage my time a little bit better. But it's been good. It's been only helpful from my perspective. But my sort of goal isn't necessarily to end the show just on that note with that amount of publicity. My background's antiques. I want to go into the field of promoting antiques on a TV level, because that would promote my business, but at the same time is something which I would really, really enjoy as well. And that's my sort of pivoted angle post show.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that it went so well. Obviously, it's not great, the website crashed, but it's really good that so many people are interested in seeing what your business has to offer. So, talking about your time on the show, it sounds like you had a great time, although it was cut short. But I wanted to know, what would be one thing that you would change if you got to redo your time on the show?
One thing which I'd change, I mean, I'd probably try not to get fired. I'll try even harder not to get fired. I don't know. It's difficult to say. I mean, with the power force, I would have liked to stay on in a bit longer. I would have definitely liked to take part in that Shropshire task, because that's my county, that's where I live, and I think I could have nailed it. But then again, the others, when I spoke to them about that task, they said they really, really enjoyed it, and they actually thought about me when they were doing that particular historic tour. So it was really nice of them, and they've done my absence justice. Absolutely. So I wouldn't change that much. I'll try and stay in a bit longer. Obviously, it would have been absolutely fantastic to secure the Sugar's investment for my business. But on the other hand, I'm not too worried, because it's not about the show from my perspective. It's about what comes after. What opportunities are you going on to other shows which allow you to promote your business or promote your brand? The show is only one part of everybody's chapter, but it doesn't end there. And therefore, I don't have that many regrets personally. I don't think I did anything particularly wrong or upset too many people. And I think that's an important aspect, actually. You want to be polite on the show, because that reflects you in the public sphere. So no, I'm okay. I'm okay with what happens. We'll just have to see what happens in the future.
I'm glad to hear that, and I definitely agree with you. It's good to obviously be polite and nice, and that definitely came across on your time in the show. So, you mentioned earlier that when you first went into the boardroom, it was Lord Sugar, Karen, and Claude, and then Tim later joined you. So, what was it like having Karen and Tim and Claude judge your every move on the show? Was it scary? Was it cool? What was it like?
So I didn't work with Claude. So I worked with Karen and Tim. Karen, what you see in TV is what you get, no doubt about it. She didn't speak to us off camera. She was very to the point. She was watching our every single step, and they were making notes in case she slipped up, or in case she said something wrong. They were very astute in that respect. So, not a fun experience, but on the other hand, it's a challenge. And I completely see where she's come from. She's come from the perspective that she is now responsible for giving fair and honest advice to Lord Sugar about where his next £250,000 is going to go to. And you can only respect that. And so she takes it very seriously. With Tim, he's a lovely character. He's a lot more open than Karen. I suppose because Tim very much sort of enjoyed the publicity associated with the show, especially being in that first season from The Apprentice, because I remember him going around taking selfies with lots of people in the Bow Buns costume competition. So that was a really, I spoke to him a lot more. He was a really friendly, nice guy, a lot less daunting than Karen. I think largely because both of them come from different backgrounds, but a lot more of an enjoyable experience, I'd probably say. And then obviously, Claude didn't speak to him off camera, but on the other hand, he seems like a really nice chap. In fact, he's an antiques collector, because Lord Sugar cracked a joke about that, which I thought was quite comedic.
Thank you for sharing your moments with them, and it's interesting to kind of hear what it's like on camera and off camera. So to end the interview, I wanted to give you the chance to share any stories, any memories, any moments, anything like that you'd like to share from your time on the show.
That first task where the girls lost was really brutal. They had a really rough time in that boardroom. Obviously, I wasn't privy to the full events, because obviously the boardroom was shortened considerably from what actually took place. So from what I got told, it was very harsh in all the parties involved. However, when the girls came back from the house, I felt really bad. So one thing which I did do, which I feel quite good about that. I think I made their day a little bit nicer, given how rough it was. We cracked out the guitar, because some of us, including Joey and I, brought a guitar, and we started doing karaoke music and started singing in the house to try and cheer them up after such a rough day. And we had lots of snacks and food, so we all ate and celebrated in our commiserations to being part of this interesting but tough process. So yeah, that was my sort of favorite moment, sort of cracking out the guitar, playing some songs, dancing some salsa, and just sort of trying to cheer up the girls after a really tough time. And that's what I liked about it. Everyone was, it was a bit of fight in the boardroom, but once you sort of get home, people were a lot more respectful, and there's quite a lot of support, at least from when I was there. People were very supportive of the experience which you went through, and were very keen to sort of try and cheer you up and motivate you despite your circumstance.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that moment. It sounds like it was kind of like a heartwarming moment to hear, like from my point of view, because it's good to hear how well you all got on. And like you said at the end there, the fact you all supported each other is amazing as well. So Gregory, it's been lovely chatting to you today, and I wanted to thank you for taking the time to come and chat to me and for talking about your time on the show.
Well, thank you very much. So if I might, just anybody wants to follow me, please check out my Instagram, Gregory Sebs. And for those who don't know my business name, it's Raven Yard Antiques. So if you're after selling stuff online, antiques related, check out my website, because there's no commission attached.
Yeah, go and check out both of those things. And thank you to everyone who watched the interview. Hope you enjoyed it, found out a bit more about Gregory and his business, and I will see you very soon for another video. Bye guys.